Hey guys, Rob Steele here to give you a quick introduction on our stat system for Embers of Caerus. First, there's a total of 10 stats divided into two categories. The first category is physical, and it includes strength, endurance, stamina, agility, and dexterity. The second is mental, which includes intelligence, memory, wisdom, charisma, and perception. So first, let's go with a brief description of each stat. Physical side of things, we have strength is basically a character's raw physical strength used for lifting, throwing, melee combat strikes, operation of heavy equipment such as siege equipment or mining tools, even for chopping trees down. A strong character is better equipped to man things like siege weapons, wield two-handed weapons, and also handle labor-intensive professions. Endurance measures a character's ability to bear physical hardship, their durability, so to speak. It affects things like their health, their resilience, time they can survive without food or water, and how quickly the body heals from extensive injuries. A character with high endurance will better be able to survive the rigors of exploration and combat, and boast higher resistances to poisons and ailments. To kind of touch on resilience, simply put, resilience is a character's ability to withstand physical punishment of all kinds. It can be viewed as your character's ability to kind of roll with punches, or their ability to absorb damage without significant side effects. It's basically the difference between absorbing a strike from a mace and just getting a bruise versus having a broken bone. As a character's resilience falls, their chances of being caught flat-footed or receiving added side effects such as broken bones or bleeding wounds increases. The level of resilience a character has plays a huge part in whether a character receives these lasting injuries and requires medical care or just extended time to heal. Resilience is really a key element of our stat system and a lot of systems, as it allows us to tie together a lot of different things, including hydration, nutrition, rest, and of course injuries and health, as well as the energy that a character has to perform different actions. Health, there really isn't anything special about the health system. It's basically the same as what you see in every other game. You lose health as you take damage, and you recover health over time. We handle things a little differently, but that's really for another topic for another time. Injuries basically are sustained through various stages of the resilience system. They range in severity and difficulty to heal, as well as the effect they have on the character. Most injuries can be avoided by properly caring for your character's needs and taking care of their injuries before they become a problem, such as getting infected or attracting parasites, or any number of other things. Moving on, we have stamina, which measures a character's cardiovascular strength. It affects things like how long a character can remain active before becoming winded, how quickly they regain their breath, or how long they can hold their breath underwater, for example. Characters with high stamina last longer when running, swimming, or even during combat before becoming tired and wounded, and obviously that is a huge factor, especially when talking about it in combat. Then we have agility, which measures a character's overall flexibility and speed, their quickness, so to speak. It affects things like climbing, swimming, how quickly they're able to attack, parry, block, and accelerate into a sprint. Also important for the use of light weapons and some tools of various professions, where a high agility grants them some bonuses, I guess you could say. Dexterity is, while it sounds redundant with agility, it's really not, because what dexterity is in Embers of Caerus is actually the character's balance and their precision in movement. It affects things like their aim, their balance and ability to roll with punches, and kind of mitigate some damage that comes in. And in addition, professions that require steady hands often benefit from a high dexterity. A dexterous character is able to retain their balance and stances in combats more readily, more resistant to staggering effects, and is less likely to suffer the full effect of various attacks. They're also more capable of, say they're standing in a shield wall, they're more capable of resisting a charge and retaining that stance behind their shield. Moving on to the mental side of things, you have intelligence, the oh so common intelligence. It's basically a measure of a character's ability to learn. It affects the speed at which many skills and knowledge can be learned. Additionally, intelligent characters may find hints or clues about puzzles and things like that in the game more readily, especially when combined with a high perception. Magi in particular also benefit from a high intelligence, as it grants them ability to a better understanding of the threads that they're attempting to manipulate and understand. An intelligent character overall learns more quickly and grasps the world around them in ways that those with lesser intelligence simply can't understand. It makes them accelerate a little more quickly through the learning process. Then you have memory, which is the measure of how much a character can remember, obviously, which directly affects how many skills they can learn and remember the intricate details of. Additionally, memory also assists characters in learning some advanced skills which require extensive mental labor. Anything from alchemy to architecture. If there's a lot of thought that goes into those kind of professions, then memory will certainly play a role of it. A character with an extensive memory would also be able to become a jack of all trades more easily than other characters with a weaker memory. Wisdom is the measure of a character's understanding of the world. It affects many professions which require knowledge, and is particularly important to disciples, which depend on their wisdom to dictate their piety pool. Basically, a disciple's wisdom is directly tied in tandem with their deity's power to dictate how much piety they have to call down spells and aid from their god. A wise character is more able to make is more capable of being a researcher or a scribe, and then in the case of disciples, to increase their power as their wisdom increases. And then moving on to charisma, it's a measure of a character's inner strength, not necessarily just their physical appearance. It does, of course, take into physical appearance or how somebody perceives them, but it's mostly about their inner strength. A charismatic character is more likely to be accepted by NPCs, even if they don't particularly care for the associations or nations that character belongs to. They're better able to find good trade deals from NPCs, maybe avoid some taxes, things like that. And then in the case of Magi, it plays a huge role for them, because one of the key things about a Magi is that they require absolute and total focus, and the focus comes from that willpower, that inner strength that they have, and without it, a Magi just would not be able to focus to manipulate the threads to have them do what they're trying to. And then finally, we have perception. Perception is basically the collective measure of all of the character senses. It affects things like aim with ranged weapons, a character's ability to notice things that others with lesser perception might not, and to a lesser degree it also affects balance in some situations. A character with high perception also makes an excellent scout or tracker, able to pick up a lot more details about things than someone with less, and finds archery and other ranged attacks easier to master. So enough about the descriptions of them. How does the system work, you might ask? Each category has a maximum pool of points, and each stat has a minimum score. but players are kind of free to hone their character stats to fit their playstyle within those limits. Essentially what the system does is it allows players to adjust their character strengths and weaknesses much the same way you hone your skills in a typical classless game. A stat will increase with use, while unused stats will slowly diminish to redistribute the points to the used stats. This gives the player the ability to shift their focus simply by doing what they enjoy doing or what their profession has them doing, instead of having to personally put in a lot of time or thought into how they're going to raise their stats that they need. It kind of does away with a bit of the grinding because it's more of a natural progression. So for example, a character that spends most of his life chopping wood might increase their strength and stamina but neglect their dexterity and agility. If later on he changes his profession and begins spending his time as a hunter, he would most likely see his agility and dexterity rise as his strength falls from the use of bows and less of a physical labor. With the limit of total points in each category, it ensures that no one character can become godlike and have incredible stats across the board. Players essentially need to pick their playstyle and stick with it, but they can certainly focus on one or two at the expense of other stats if they want, or they can even choose more of a jack-of-all-trades approach and kind of try to keep their stats level so that they really don't have any extreme strengths, but they also don't have any glaring weaknesses. Obviously, the more you focus on one or two stats, it inherently creates weaknesses that the player must take into account and overcome. So for example, while a character with massive strength and endurance could certainly suit up in heavy armor, wield a great sword, and become a living wrecking ball on the battlefield, they won't be very quick and agile, nor have the stamina to last very long in the field. Whereas somebody who comes with the opposite approach could be very quick and agile and have a decent amount of stamina to last for an extended period of time, but they might not be quite as difficult to kill, nor will they hit quite as hard. It all depends on the player's playstyle and what they want to do. Obviously, the exact numbers and the speed of gaining and redistributing stat points will all need to be tested and balanced later on, but this should give you a pretty good idea of what to expect from the stat system. And I imagine there's going to be quite a few people out there already planning, hey, I'm going to focus on this. I want to be, this really big strong guy with the great sword, or maybe you want to be the thief. But now you have a better understanding of what to expect. So thanks for listening, guys, and as always, thanks so much for your support. I'll see you around.